Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Nightmares on Access. Today's special guest was my tight end, Samantha Shepard, but because of circumstances unforeseen, she wasn't able to leak in time. So you're gonna stick with us. And to pick up the topic on racism in sports and life, we dealt with the sports aspect of racism. Now we're going to deal with the life issue. Yeah. Here's the thing. Like we said yesterday, sports and racism, and sports and life are not two different things. They're the exact same thing. No matter how you slice it, it is what it is.
Let's take this one step further. No.
Johnson, can you find me the mop bucket?
It's in the bathroom.
Can you get it and clean it out?
Boy. Yeah, take it one step further.
The side. Let's talk about some stuff that we've seen. Our league and other leagues that we're never going to be getting to. Last
And to further illustrate the point of racism in life, besides African Americans and women of color, Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders also come under the racism spectrum. People complaining about how the Chinese brought over the coronavirus. Y'all, it's 2021. Cut the crap. Like I said yesterday, the coronavirus has no gender. And it has no race. The backyard.
Well, she can come get this trash up.
And on top of that, they come under hate for a whole lot of reasons. Latinos coming under hate.
same sun, different colors.
Yeah. They come under hate and they come under racism. Like every white person is going to blame everything on minorities, people of color, that sort of thing, for things that went wrong in their lives. They try to say that it's the Mexicans' fault that they're taking good jobs. No. You're just lazy. You don't want to get up and look for a job. You don't want to get up and apply for a job. And you won't get up to go work for a job. Therefore, it's nobody's fault but your own.
We want to get into it here, or we want to wait a little bit before we get into the other topic that we had talked about last week.
Let's wait to get into that other. We can go into that other.
I'm still bothered by that one.
What?
Racism, that's everywhere.
Yeah.
But this one, I never thought I'd see that. Well, I shouldn't be surprised.
Mm.
Owners of teams and leagues thinking they're more powerful than they really are.
Uh-huh. Folks, I mean, athletes are people too. Actors are people too. Musicians are people too. We all deserve respect for one another.
Well, apparently there are some owners and some team leagues that think otherwise.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with racism. Everything to do with, how big their ego is and
Yeah.
how can I put it?
Yeah.
What they think they can and can't do.
Thanks.
What they feel emboldened to try to do.
Mm-hmm.
And let's let these folks know what we mean. Because
Here's the case in point.
these folks that listen to the podcast were not here when all this went down.
Then again, it ain't nothing new that goes on in this world. And it needs to stop. Point blank. Racism, hatred, bigotry, everything. It needs to stop. Check your egos at the door. It's not needed where it needs to be. And it gets to the point where racism is going to be expanded into cultural appropriation, which will spill into the school systems. Case in point, young men and women with dreads in their hair, these schools are now saying that they can't wear their hair like that, and they have to cut it because it's in a violation of a school dress code.
I heard that.
And here's another case in point. A certain high school in Texas is in very, very deep hot water. Especially when their black students are concerned. A school in San Antonio told a senior 2 years ago that if he doesn't cut his dreads off, he won't graduate. And he told his cousin, who was a sophomore, the very same thing. Cut your hair or you'll be suspended. And apparently Ellen saw this and she got so mad that the school was denying these two boys their education because of their hair.
Well, not only that, the senior had already pretty much almost gotten them to finish up get credits for graduation.
Yep.
You're not going to kids for doing that. Not that I understand if they would have committed a crime. I would have understood if, something was against the policy of, if you do something, then, you can graduate. But there's nowhere that gives you every right to skip somebody from a chance to walk.
Yeah. Even a biracial kid who was on a wrestling team, the referee took the scissors and cut his hair.
Now my question is this. Where was the parent?
The parent was watching this in disbelief that the referee was cutting his hair. She didn't know he was going to cut his hair.
I hope and pray that I hope she was so enraged she did something about it.
Oh, they did something about it, all right.
Because if that were my kid, I'm like, wait a minute. Here's what I love, okay? Here's what I love. I want them to think they can do what they want when they want. I'm like, wait a minute. Do you pay the bills in my house? Do you pay the expenditures in my house? Do you take my kid to the barbershop? So what right does it give you to cut my kid's hair without my permission?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously.
But there is a bright side to this story. Not only did he get one in his weight class, even though what he told in his reports that the referee made him feel bad about his hair, the referee lost his job.
Yeah, because guess what? Because guess what? That went way beyond what basically he was contracted and paid to do.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line.
Uh-huh.
If it's not no contract, you can't do it.
Yep.
I don't give a fuck. Seriously.
And another case in point, this happened in my neck of the woods at my alma mater, the exact same time that this kid got his hair cut off at a wrestling tournament. There was only one a girl of color, the only one on the girls' varsity soccer team. Was humiliated when her teammate posted on Facebook about how nappy her hair is, calling her a gorilla, calling her a coon. And this to the point that many people that have read this on Facebook had complained to that school about this young lady's behavior. Not only was this young lady allowed to graduate, this young lady's got a scholarship to ETSU.
Well, congratulations to her.
Now mind you, folks, the young lady who said this to an African American girl, this young lady was white.
But what did we say yesterday?
It don't matter.
What did we say yesterday? If they're that other color, they get away with a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When it's us,
We'll call you to the carpet.
they want us to shut up and be quiet.
Yeah. Apparently, this young lady told the former principal, and I'm gonna call this woman out to the carpet because she was my assistant principal when I was in school. I'm gonna call her out to the carpet because she didn't do a damn thing. Because she's the whitest black woman on the face of the planet. Her name is Miss Willie Dickerson. Yeah, I know. I know. Y'all thought of Free Willie. Yeah, who has it?
Yeah, who has it?
Well, this woman who was the principal, sat there and let a young African American lady get embarrassed, demeaning, and degraded on social media. Oh, but this is not the first time that Miss Dickerson was called to the carpet. No. I got a little inside info about that. The second time she got called to the carpet was when former Williamson County Superintendent called her to the carpet of what she said to a young man of color. That you would not amount to anything. You're not going to be anything. You won't be able to do anything. That's strike two against her because the young man she told us to happens to be the son of a Williamson County school bus driver. And it was her day off when she got the call from the superintendent and her own son that the principal said this to him. She's the one who said this to him to his face. But you know what the mother did? And this is from her mouth herself, because she told me herself. She don't reach over there and smack the taste out of her mouth. In front of witnesses, don't reach across the table, just slap the former principal in the face.
Now that's funny.
That's poetic justice.
That's funny. Not only is it justice funny as hell, and I like it.
Yeah. That's poetic justice right there.
Now, okay, seriously. This
Yeah.
Literally.
And it's getting to the point that kids are getting affected by this.
You think? I mean, think
Educators, listen to me. All teachers and coaches.
I don't care if you're college. And by the way, NCAA, I'm putting you on blast again. We talked about you last night.
Yep.
But I'm also putting you guys, I'm also putting you morons on blast too. Because this hypocrisy of screwing these kids over not once but twice in golf
Uh-huh.
and allowing the men's team to practice when the sun came out at 12 noon. You saw. Oh no. And no, I'm not happy, and I will show it because I'm ticked off at this. Thank you.
Uh-huh. That the thing about it is, folks, as many times as we've been on here, you know certain things about us that what makes us laugh, what makes us be serious, and what really sets us off.
This right here, no.
This is pissing. This needs to be brought up because
I know this is not the after hours pod. If we get censored, sue me. But these seniors who didn't play last year for COVID, I get it, I understand. But allowing them to get an extra so they can come back and finish out their careers.
uh-huh.
And you have the unmitigated goal to cancel the regional. Gridiron said, hey, LSU men's golf team, your practice is going to have to wait because this regional will continue. They could have at least done that.
Yeah.
And you basically tell the men's coach, the LSU men's golf team is allowed to practice and cancel the whole rest of the Baton Rouge regional. I can promise you, other colleges are going to be looking at this as an example to sell the NCAA. Hey, why do that? Why, you know what? If you're going to do this and cancel a regional in Baton Rouge, that is a host site. Why should they be allowed to pay for hosting when they pull this shenanigan?
Uh-huh.
In my opinion, if you can do that at a golf site,
Then you know better than anybody else.
then here's a suggestion for you. How about strip them the opportunity of hosting a regional site for a year?
Yeah.
Show them what happens when they don't get a chance to host, how much they lose. Because they don't get a chance to host a regional site.
Yeah, and this, folks, is why.
I can promise you, if this was college baseball, they would find a way to make sure they got that TV. Even if it meant waiting a couple of days.
And folks, this is why most things like racism sets us off.
I can promise you, that time where they had like a long rain delay, one time they didn't start a game until almost 9 o'clock or so, or 10 or 11. They will wait for as long as they have to make sure they stay on schedule.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen in college baseball.
And now back to what we said about racism and cultural appropriation.
To me, that is racism. Because
Yep.
of the fact that, hey, these kids that came back to finish what they started, and they've had the opportunity to take it away from you twice.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem.
And let me bring up another case in point. And since this is about college, I'm going about like racism in schools. And that's another school that recently came into the headlines for racism and cultural appropriation. This happens on the softball field. A young woman of color who is a senior at a high school in North Carolina. Two referees, one black, one white. The referee who is white tells this young lady to, you guessed it, cut her hair or she won't play. And she brought up, this has never been a problem before. They let her play with dreads in her hair. And now this man wants to say something.
I'll come back to it again. If it's not in your contract and you're not being paid to do it.
Oh, he's not the one who cut her hair. Her teammates begrudgingly didn't. Her teammates did not want to do this.
No, check it. No, what I'm saying is, it ain't in your damn contract. You're a damned official.
Yeah.
All your job is simple. Keep order. Call the game. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Your job is to do one thing and one thing only.
Yeah.
Your job is to be the official. Nothing else. It ain't your job to tell somebody, you need to cut your... No, that ain't your job. Unless it is something that the people made in, before the game even started.
Not necessarily. They think this was in a violation of the school's dress code.
I don't care.
Yeah, but you want to know who is more upset about it besides her? Her team was upset.
And they should be.
Yeah, her team was upset because she didn't want to do it, and they didn't want her to do it, and neither did they. The team was forced to do this. One of her teammates says, does somebody have a pair of scissors? She didn't want to do this. She didn't want to cut her teammate's hair. This rep basically threatened them, you either cut your hair or your team's going to get a DQ, and you'll lose the tournament.
They should have just taken the DQ.
And this was last month when this occurred.
See, here's what I would have done. I'm like, you know what? DQ us. But I can guarantee you, this ain't the last time you're gonna. This ain't gonna be the last time you hear from us.
No.
You know what? If I were the coach, I'm like, you know what? Here's the deal. Give us the DQ. We'll finish runner up, but I can promise you, this war just got started.
Yep. But here's the thing. These two teams have played before, and they didn't have a problem with that player with dreads in her hair. They didn't have a problem. It's just that one particular ref that does.
See, here's my problem with that. I have met officials. I have talked to officials. I know officials because I've talked to them. I don't think I've ever seen an official have a problem with anybody's hair.
No.
As long as they keep it tucked in and vice versa, but they can still play as long as it doesn't start becoming unruly.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I've seen an official ever do.
We don't see this happening in the college or the pro level. But why is it happening on the high school level?
Because at the high school level, think about it.
But wait. Before we get to that, let me take it back a little bit even further.
Here's the thing. At the college and pro level, you don't get paid. At the college and pro level, you get paid. At the high school level, the only people that get paid are the principals, the directors, teachers.
Yep.
Officials that come in to call the games, and they pay for the field, for the upkeep of the field.
Mm-hmm.
So, the thing is this. You're not going to get, it's not in your contract. So here's a suggestion for you. How about this? Shut up and just call the game. Don't worry about what the kid's doing. Because guess what? The kid's hair is none of your business. You're not the parent.
Short words cannot be spoken. But here's a question. Here's a question. How far is too far enough
This
for
is
a person for a student to be traumatized by this? And I got one answer for you.
not much.
No, and I got one step further, especially when the kid happens to be 6 years old with dreads.
A 6-year-old kid being told to cut their hair.
No, this teacher though went out of bounds and did it herself,
Okay. Do I have to
and
say
she got fired as a result.
do I need to say it again? Do I need to say this again?
You're going to have to tell us for the viewers because they need to hear it.
People in the back, shut the fuck up and pay attention. If you are a teacher, if you are an official, whatever you are in life, if it ain't in your contract,
Don't fucking do it.
and you're not paying anybody's bills, and these parents are sacrificing a lot of their time to bring these kids to your school, or putting them on that bright yellow school bus, they send them there for you to teach them. They don't send them there to be totally transformed and traumatized because you're so hell-bent on sending a message. It's not in your contract. And now the parents
So,
are there, fine.
to quote one Spanky
That don't give you a right to swat.
to quote one comedic man named Sade, have a Coke and a smile, sit there and shut the fuck up. It's not your job to be their parent. It's not your job to be their barber. It's not your damn job to tell them what to do. Your job is to educate them. Your job is to coach them to do the right thing.
Educate and mold these people, these young people,
Into better citizens.
to successful men and women of society.
And that's it.
That's it.
It's not your job to
Nothing
cut their hair.
Contract.
It's not your job for you to cut their hair. It's not your job to make them go home and change their clothes. It's not your job
Folks,
to belittle, degrade, demean them in a voicemail. And it sure is God's green earth not in your damn job description to hit them.
and by the way, never has been, never will be. So here's a suggestion for you.
Do your damn job.
How about this? How about this? Read the language of the contract. Read what's in it. Don't add any extra stuff to it, because it's not going to get added. You know what your job is. You know what's expected of you. And if you can't do that, go find another line of work. It ain't that hard.
Nope. I can
Seriously, my God.
I can name at least one principal who has integrity to do his job correctly. And I give you a hint. Before he was a educator, he was a pro football player. And here's another hint. He's been an educator. He's been a football coach. He's been an athletic director.
Are we talking about the guy that was formerly at Independence and now at somewhere else in Murfreesboro?
No. We're talking about former Tennessee Titan Kevin Dyson.
Isn't that what I just said?
Yep. The newest principal.
Didn't I just say, yeah, that was formerly of Independence and now he's like, what, Friendship or something?
No. He's now the newest principal of Centennial High School.
Yeah, so he moved to Sumner County.
Yep.
He was in Williamson County for a
He is in Williamson County.
Oh, yeah. Well, I should say he was in Murfreesboro.
Yeah, when he started out as the athletic director at the newly opened Stewart's Creek High School. He was the athletic director there.
And he went back to teaching and got his doctorate degree.
Yes. And went to Independence and became a principal. Went to Grassland and became a principal. Now he's at Centennial High as the new principal while the old principal took a job someplace else.
But see, folks, this right here is called if you work hard enough and do what's expected, good things do happen.
And Kevin Dyson's that one example.
So, as we close this pod out, folks, I want to make one thing very, 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 very clear. That extra language ain't in your contract. In your contract. Mold and shape these young men and women to be the best that they can be. You're not the parent. You don't pay the damn bills. Just do your job. That's all we ask. That's all we expect when you send your kid out to school. And I know for you as a mother, that's what you expect from your teachers.
Yep.
That's all you expected.
And lucky for me,
You didn't expect all this other BS.
no, and lucky for me and my daughter, this is her last year she has to be at that school.
I know.
Because for the last 4 years, she's been the target of constant bullying and nepotism by one vice principal in particular, who's been showing favoritism to every single white student and thinking that she's a troublemaker.
Put them on blast.
She is not. And Jennifer Calvin, I'm calling your racist ass out, you stupid bitch. Because for the last 4 years, since you've been my daughter's principal, you looked the other way while she got bullied. When they tried to beat her up while in school. You went as far as almost had her arrested for something that somebody else did for bringing weed into the school by listening to other people say that she brought it to the school. And she didn't. The drug test proved that she was clean. So, bitch, fuck you. And on top of that, and this is my advice to you, don't you ever do that to another kid of color. Ever again. Your job as an educator is to listen to all matters. Not just the matters of white people, because that's all you've been doing for the last 4 years. And I'm pretty much was sick of it. I have been wanting to, for the last 3 years, get your bitch ass fired. I wanted to, for 3 years, to get Golden's ass fired, because he's biased. Why on earth would the school superintendent also be the lawyer for the school board? When you ain't have all the fucking facts.
That part got me. When you told me that part right there got me. Like, how are you the lawyer? And this, like,
Yeah, you and Jason Golden are biased as fuck.
that part don't make sense to me at all.
And you know what? When push comes to shove, if I had to do it all over again, I'm going to the very next school board meeting and demand you resign. I demand you both to resign. Because the both of you,
Have got to go.
because you both got your head so far stuck up your ass that you believe anything that a white student tells you.
The old adage of some peoples have got to get some gone. You know what there needs to be? You know what there needs to be?
Yep.
There needs to be a shake-up across the whole school board.
Yep.
I mean, even in Davidson County, we have some idiotic morons bumping around here.
Yep. And Williamson County's got a whole bunch of them.
Thinking they're all that in a bag of chips. Holy bullshit.
And if I'm being technical, I want to take it a little bit further. To around the time when my nieces went to Centennial. One of my nieces was in the marching band as a member of the color guard. And she saw bigotry up firsthand when my alma mater acted like a couple of idiots.
Did she get kicked out of school, man?
No. what she saw from what my alma mater has been doing, and when she told me about this, it pissed me off that they called every single black boy on the Centennial football team a bunch of goons. And my friend, who happens to be the coach of the Franklin High football team, he was pissed.
I'll put it this way: if they were trying to hurt somebody on the field, I understand that. That's a good title. But if they're just playing football just to play football, and they're trying to do the right thing and play the right way, and you call them goons, all I'm gonna say to you is,
But that is not as bad as what they called the Centennial cheerleaders.
bunch of hypocrites.
No, a bunch of hoes in miniskirts.
Okay, there should have been some firing at that point. At that point.
Yeah, at that point, the coach of Centennial, he resigned right away after that behavior. No sooner he heard about it, he quit.
So the coach wasn't part of it. He was so ticked off
He quit.
at the people up top that he quit.
At the team in general, the way they were behaving. Well, actually, the way that the visiting team was behaving. Because...
Oh, yeah, I think I remember that little brouhaha. I think I remember that.
Yeah, it was so stupid.
He was like a big short.
It was so stupid.
It's beyond stupid.
People, what did like we just said, and it's going to be repeated until we're both blue in the motherfucking face, or until I have an aneurysm and kill over. Racism, sexism, narcissism, and bigotry have no motherfucking goddamn place in your schools. It don't have no place anywhere, and it should have been uttered by kids.
I've sat in the press box, and I've sat courtside. Okay? I've sat in both of these. And parents. My God. I remember, 2 years ago? It was a Region 5 AA Girls Championship year. When it was Maplewood, when Maplewood was the number 1 seed on the girls' side in the region. Westmoreland had to come up from White House to play us for the championship. And the game had just tipped off. And a Maplewood parent and a Westmoreland parent literally got into it. Game stopped by the official. Okay? I gotta give full marks to Miss Brooks. Okay? She's a black woman. Alright? But let me tell you something. She basically pulled no punches and said in no uncertain terms, we're here to enjoy a basketball game. We did not come up in here for fighting. We came up here to enjoy a basketball game and watch these kids compete.
Yep.
And I mean, even myself, I even had to eat. Look, everybody in the building, behind me, in front of me, gave her a stand. Even I had to give her a nice hand. Because I'm like, you know what? I'm glad a principal had the chutzpah to actually say what she means.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking to myself, if more principals are like this, our schools would be in a lot better position.
Yep. And folks, it's like this. If you want to play and do the right thing, that is going to fine. But here's the tip. Leave the Eagles at the door. They don't have no place in the school building.
Eagle has no place, period. But sadly, there are those that think they can get away with it because, oh, I'm this, oh, I'm that.
Contraire. There's people who Eagles got so big, it led to their downfall.
Until there are stiff enforcement.
Yep.
Handed down from the top down. That says, if you do this, here's the punishment that will befall you.
Yeah.
Until the people up top understand that.
Yeah. My case in point, here's what I'm bringing up. The entire Steubenville High School football team. Brock Turner, Mitchell Miller, and I hate to bring this up, but I'm gonna have to. Corey Beatty, Brendan Vandenberg,
Yes.
Brendan Banks,
I know
Tip
where-
McKenzie,
I know where you're going.
and Emil Durian. These are people who egos got the better of them. Like I said, during the Vanderbilt rape case of 2013, my cousin Corey.
It basically cost them the thing they loved and where they could be.
My cousin Corey was one of the 4 Vanderbilt football players. Not only got kicked off, he was tried and he got 15 years. That's 15 years he won't be able to see his little girl. And by the time he gets out of prison, he has to register as a sex offender, which means
I think all those kids do.
and which means he won't be able to see his little girl graduate from high school.
And you know who ran off scot free from this? The current Penn State head football coach.
Yep, James Franklin.
He
No,
ran away literally scot free.
and he knew what they did. He knew this.
Nothing.
He knew it. He knew about the text messages.
That's even worse. That's even more of a worse of atrocity.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, the Jerry Sandusky scandal and Joe Paterno had his wins vacated, and then he was able to say, "Hey, it's on your watch." James Franklin should have gotten something out of this.
Let's not forget Brock Turner. He's gonna spend 6 months in jail for what his father calls 10 minutes of action. His father tried to make this girl feel ashamed of herself. But he did not win. Not only did Brock Turner got what came to him, his dad did too. His dad lost his spot on the alumni board.
And he should have.
And Mel Durian, remember him? And remember what he did to a referee during a football game last October? You didn't. Here's the short end of it. See Boy in Blue. See Boy in Blue act like a lunatic. See Boy in Blue with his ego so big. See a boy in blue with his ego so big knocked out a 57-year-old referee. Now see that same boy lose his scholarships.
By the way, lose your scholarship. You're charged with a felony for assaulting an official.
Not only that, his decision don't cost that team the entire championship. Cost them the playoffs.
Yep.
The whole team paid for his mistake. Not to mention, this happened when he was also on the soccer team. He cost the soccer team the finals. And like I said last time about Mitchell Miller, you know what his story is. And we're not repeating that one. Because even me repeating that is going to really raise my blood pressure. And no.
Now, do we give them the preview of what we have next Friday? And are we gonna try to get Sam back next Saturday?
Alright. Next Friday's preview. Next Friday.
We're definitely getting into NFL stuff.
Yes, we are.
We're gonna get into.
We're gonna get into lots of good stuff. It is more so funny than the others.
Well,
If anything that winds up on Come On Man, it's funny.
most of this we're gonna get into ain't funny. It's not funny.
Unless you're Derrick Henry, stiff arming Josh Norman out of his soul.